Good afternoon, traders. This is Christian from Tribeca Trade Group, and this is your end of day market recap for the first day of 2025. Welcome to 2025. Happy New Year, everybody. It is Thursday, January 2nd. I'm having difficulties with these holidays coming on Wednesday. It feels like a Monday. Tuesday felt like a Friday, but regardless, it's a Thursday. We've got one more trading day of the week. So some interesting price action to start the week. Let me get to the risk disclaimer first. I haven't done a video, an end of day video for a while for you guys, so I'm going to do that today. Please read everything here on your screen. Everything that we're going through is for information purposes, not giving out any advice or recommendations. Everything in this video is for education purposes only. So that's another down day for the S&P and the Qs. Over 5 days, that's now down. The S&P is down 1.7%. The Qs are down 2.4%. There was a little bit of outperformance there today in the small caps, which I believe eked out a gain today. I heard this term a couple times today. I think it's whether you talk about today, the price action being sloppy, choppy, a little bit all over the place. I think that some of the winners of last year, I mean, just in reference to like Apple, for example. Apple had its worst day in a few months, and you have to keep in mind that Apple's is a pretty large component of all the indices, so it's going to have an impact. And 7.6% of the S&P, right? So the largest weighting there, and almost 10% of the Nasdaq. So that's going to pull things down. Tesla did not have a good day today, too, and we'll kind of have to see where that goes. If I have time in this video, I'll bring up those two charts. But really, my strategy before we get into the charts, because I think those are going to be interesting too, because we've got new value areas for the year for 2025. We've got new value areas for the month of January. By the way, we'll be doing a webinar on Monday for Tribeca Trade Group members, myself and Web Goal, who put together the MarketWebs study, and volume to me is the best volume at price indicator out there, bar none. So we're going to be going over what the new valuers are telling us, index through index, sector by sector, and we'll be going through individual stocks and answering member questions, anything that they want to know really about the value areas, and how to use them, when you're trading, and really how they kind of give us a roadmap. I'll try to give a couple examples like that in this video too. But all right, so my view going into a new year, years ago, because I am entered into the U.S. Investment Championship contest again for this year. But years ago, like I really tried to get off to like a hot start. Like, hey, I got to figure this market out, and I got to make a lot of moves. A year could be a long time. A month could be a long time. Remember, even December got off to this hot start. It was kind of like I don't want to say everybody, but as a lot of folks were anticipating, being that December is one of the strongest months seasonally of the year, right? So we kind of continued with that very hot November. We got into December. Everybody started to kind of like get a running start. Because things started off really well and things kind of really fell flat. The Qs still finished up for the month of December, but SPY did not. And, we saw all month that breadth deterioration. The Fed meeting, whether or not you could argue whether you got a lot of new information, it did seem like the turning point for the month, because the markets kind of struggled. They did bounce from a bit of an oversold level. So anyway, I always like to kind of recap a little bit of what the popular thought was. I heard a lot about the small caps were gonna outperform in December. That certainly didn't happen, right? They had a horrible month. So again, sometimes even though you can have these ideas, but you want to basically stay flexible, right, and objective, and that kind of brings us up to this year. And there's no way I get, there's a lot of people coming out with predictions and so forth. You don't, just because the calendar flips to a new year, it doesn't mean you're going to find all the answers, right, and come up with, oh, these are going to be the best trades ever, and so on and so forth. To me, just kind of letting the market breathe a little bit, right, showing us what it wants to, letting it reveal itself to us. and then we can make some moves, right? And of course, being prepared, you've got to be prepared too. And that's what we try to do. We try to do our homework, after hours, because you have full closing bars, because sometimes things can look quite different at 10:30 in the morning, versus at the end of the day. But do the homework, look for the setups, have some ideas, and then execute when you start to see things line up the way that you want it to. Right? I'm going to talk a little bit about that in our watch list too. So that's a lot to come. I'm really giving this video, like, I'm trying to make it short today, but there's a lot of things to go through. So first of all, like, again, I'm not going to go through all these value areas, but this is just the weekly chart. The weekly chart gives us the value area for the year. Where SPY is starting above. So that's for like longer term. Like, we've got support about 4% away. I'm not saying that we're going to land there, but that's also something to kind of keep in mind in your scenario analysis. Now, when we look at the daily chart for SPY, right, and here's that value area. Again, you can see the way that I have this set up, you could see that value area for 2024 on the daily chart, and that's the bigger block, right? The smaller block up here is the value area for January. Notice that we're starting the month a bit different, right? The last time that we started the month below value was in the beginning of November. We didn't spend a lot of time below value, and we managed to kind of break in, and then we had the election, and we had that nice price action thereafter for the majority of for November. This is different, right? We're also starting below the 50-day moving average. So we haven't started below the 50-day moving average and the value area for the month, and since all the way back in here, which was August. And August, we went low, we went decently lower. So I think that's the thing that you want to kind of bear in mind, is that the indices right now are not telling a great picture, because we're starting the month below value. That will change if we break 590.33. And until then, I'm trying to be a little bit more conservative and let some of those signals kind of come to me. Also note, Q started the month inside value where we were pre-market, but we broke back below, right? And we're now right into that 50-day moving average as well. So, take a look at this in the 1-hour chart. Like, so these signals reveal themselves a bit. We started, futures were up this morning, but look at where we were. Right, we rallied right into a resistance point, and this is something that we went over. Like, I posted this chart 7:40 in the morning. I said, watch this level here. I called it 517.70. Sometimes I round down or round up, but that was your resistance for the day. And you may have to adjust your trading a little bit until things begin to kind of trend a little bit different. Because short term, we're beginning to trend down in all these things. Just as I went as in the S&P. And in the Qs, we're below these value areas, and that's not a great place to try to think that things are going to be easy, right? It's usually a little bit more of a difficult market. We're not trending. We don't have a powerful uptrend. In fact, we're beginning to trend down. IWM is a mess. Still, taking out that VPOC was the low point for last month. We came back and back checked that a couple times. Here's the value area. So this is closer, right? This is only about 1.2% away, 1.4%. So again, I don't try to, there's no need, I think, to try to figure out something difficult, but that's what we have for this. Let me go over a couple other things here in this video. So I'm just going to show you like a little bit of like the watch list that I put together every weekend for traders. And basically, I'm looking at ideas, and I'm looking at things that could possibly get momentum, right? And the one thing that I had on here was CEG. If you notice the price action for today, what did the best today? Uranium, solar, uh, regular energy did pretty well today too. Gold miners did pretty well. So when I see these groups begin to kind of catch and show some momentum, I don't necessarily, sometimes if it's really a group that I'm unfamiliar, I may trade the ETF, but mainly I'm trading single stocks. But I have my names in there, right, that are my go-to names. And I thought the CEG looked pretty good as we went over the weekend, and I put out all the charts. But today this thing looks like it's trying to turn a little bit, and sometimes you have to be patient and kind of wait for that. And so this was a really nice move. Is up 8.4%. There was a headline too that they got a contract with the government. But if you could look at like VST also had a really nice day too. So that's also pushing into those top of value areas for the month. And normally when I see that when there's resistance ahead, I take some profits, which is exactly what I did today. But these things were strong. I also thought that the quantum names were I mean, again, like this was a theme that clearly we saw. I mean, we were talking about this on pre-market prep that some of these stocks just like a month ago were like $2, $3 stocks. It's a $20 stock. When is this momentum going to stop? I have no idea. I can't tell you that. But look at the move today after a pretty ugly looking candle. This was also something that we talked about in pre-market prep. I said this was a very ugly looking candle on Tuesday. However, we did not change the trend, and this is up. This is up another 30% today, right? And I also detailed what was the other one. I get these Q ones confused, the QBTS and QUBT, but I think this is actually looking pretty decent. If it can kind of hold here, and again, sometimes what I tend to do is look at the 1 hour chart and say, where is their short-term resistance? All right, so there is a little bit of short-term resistance there at 1945. So that's something to watch, but still, that's another 6% higher. So even where we talked about this around 3 o'clock today, that this move from inside value to the top of the value area was about 8%. So that's a trade, right? And that's how you could be trading some of these quantum names that are moving this quickly. But that right now continues to be a theme. And so that's what did well today. Some of the underperformers, we know that when we get into January, sometimes the underperformers begin to outperform, and some of the best names, hence Apple, moving down, and Tesla moving down. Of course, Tesla had news today, but that could be what you see for a little bit, right? You could see some of the outperformers, like the software names, which were down decently from the open, down 1.3%. So that's something to also consider, right? I was going to I've mentioned Tesla, the Tesla chart, right? And what I'm looking at in Tesla, again, this was something that we talked about pre-market, and I had mentioned the level 402, right? Now 402 went by pretty quickly, but that's it. You have an air pocket basically down to 350. Why 350? Well, I just saw in the 1 hour chart, there's a virgin point of control down there, right? There's also the 50-day moving average. So would I mess around with Tesla here? No, I wouldn't, because it's kind of in no man's land. It broke through the bottom of the value area for the month, and you've got nothing really to this 50-day moving average. Now, this could set up because this was the breakout point, but you've got to be patient. And I think also, I'm going to mention that word again, patience. Have some patience, right? Because there could be, like, if you don't want to trade some energy names or some of the other areas that might perk up a little bit, right? Then you have to be patient and let these things kind of come to you a little bit. So that's where I'm going to leave it for the video. I had a couple other trade ideas too, but I'm not going to discuss that in this video. You have to be a member of Tribeca Trade Group, and we're not expensive, so sign up, check it out, and I hope that you can that you could join us in the trading room. But overall, I'm very enthused about this year. I actually look forward to if it's that we start to see some other names and other groups perk up a little bit and provide trading opportunities. What's nice is what we always do is we put together a watch list, whether it's energy, whether it's uranium names, and then once those areas begin to set up again, right, we don't have to start all over with learning a new group. We have those names to kind of go into. But I think this is going to be a fun year. I think that maybe you do have to make some adjustments, take some profits maybe a little bit quicker until things kind of straighten themselves out in terms of the overall indices, which are down a little bit. But I think it's going to be a good year to trade. All right, guys, that's it. Have a great night. See you tomorrow.